Hey everybody, I'm Tommy and you are on the boat. I thought I would pop back in and cleanse the palate a little bit. It's never fun to do subject matter that you know is going to piss off half of your audience, maybe even more than half your audience. It's not something that content creators enjoy doing. It really isn't. It's one of those things that makes you uncomfortable. But for better or for worse, if by some chance people ask me specifically to cover something, more than likely I'm going to cover it, and I'm always going to give you my opinion. I'm sorry that for a lot of people that opinion isn't popular, but I'm not going to BS it for the sake of making people happy. Brock Bandy, good to see you. Hey, JL Biddle, good to see you. But it doesn't mean I dislike anybody. The people that the people that curse at me, that may be a little different. Sarah Slater, how are you? Glad that you're here. This is a situation that there are no winners in. Wes Lightburn, I'm glad that you are here. Hey, Cricket, can't sleep? What did I make for dinner? Steak. It was about that thick. It was unbelievably good. It really was. The steak down here is so fantastic. It really is. Speaking of cleansing the palates. Chicka Cherry Cola, good to see you. Caroline in Canada, how are you? Still love me after the last stream. I appreciate that. Alicia, good to see you. It's painful. I would like to make everybody happy all the time. Unfortunately, I'm a guy that gives his opinion, and I try to give my opinion based on as much research that I can do. And that's kind of how I do what I do. It's kind of how I always will do what I do. It costs me money. It costs me subscribers. But it's better than the alternative, which is kind of to sell out. And that's not something that I'm ever going to do. Sandy Wendy, good to see you. And I did it in the past. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I didn't. I sold out on the Diddy thing big time. There were so many things that were said that I knew were patently absurd, yet I went with it. I used the Sunday sauce bucket from the amazing local Italian market. It's drool worthy. Oh boy. I was supposed to go to Luigi's tonight. Yesterday when he was in my chat, I told him I would. And then today was one of those days in Ecuador that 1,000,001 things happened today. And some of them, I can't get into. None of them were bad, but there were some people that needed assistance, and I went and assisted them. I'll leave it at that. And there was just a lot that happened today that made doing all the things that I wanted to get done today almost impossible to do. I was very much looking forward to doing my show on Paul Bernardo. I've got that ready to go. It's sitting in the hopper. I was going to do it right now, actually. I was going to come on and do that show, but I don't want to do it so late at night that very few people see it. A bucket of marinara with pork ribs, sweet Italian sausages, and meatballs. Good Lord, that sounds good. That really does sound good. I'm sorry, I love meat. I know that there are people that don't. My girl is not a big meat guy. Be prepared for the coming of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Bible prophecy is coming to pass at a rate that's astonishing. People have been waiting their whole lives for this. I happen to agree with that. I won't shove it down anyone's throat here, but if you've never read End Times Prophecy, it is fascinating to do so. Just Joan, I'm glad that you are here. Incognito. From Ontario, the land of snow. Apparently everywhere currently is the land of snow, except where I'm at. No snow here. Today it was a little bit cooler. I think it was about 81 today. Had a very cool breeze coming off the ocean. It was damn near perfect. Why, thank you, Chicka Cherry Cola. And you know what? There are a lot of people that aren't going to agree with me. All I would ask people to do is, it's easy to disagree with somebody because of ideology, right? Somebody asked a question in the last chat. How do I think Trump is doing? And my answer was, I don't care, because what I'm talking about in the particular subject matter, if your initial takeaway is Trump is an asshole, then you're not really evaluating what happened in this particular case. I don't want anyone to get killed. I don't. But the people that are dead right now didn't have to be dead. They put themselves into situations that caused that to happen. I'll leave it at that. The protesting and committing crimes are different things. If you don't interfere with people while they're doing what they're doing, your odds of getting shot really diminish, right? There's a lot of protesters that are out there protesting that have nothing to worry about because they're not trying to put themselves in the line of fire and make that happen. And that's not something that You can disagree with that, but it's a fact, right? These people didn't need to die. They didn't. Unfortunately, they chose a type of protesting that forced confrontation. And confrontation is not something to get into with somebody that carries a gun. Take this from a criminal, right? I'm still here because I chose not to get into confrontations with bad people. Hate does breed hate. Division is never a good thing. It isn't. And here's the sad thing. The sad thing is that the people that are happy that these people died, they're scumbags. Make no mistake. I don't take any joy in the fact that these people died. That's just awful, right? No one should ever take any kind of joy. Now, I shouldn't say that. There are people that, honest to God, if they end up dead, aren't going to bother me. But those people are do things to people that can't defend themselves. The people that hurt kids, I don't have a problem with anything bad happening to them. But that's a slightly different situation. But I don't want to see protesters get hurt. I really don't. But we have got a pervasive attitude that says, I don't have to listen to law enforcement. I don't have to respect authority. I don't have to do any of those things. And this has nothing to do with protesting. This is all the way down to kids getting pulled over by cops and people that say, I'm not allowed to, you're not allowed to touch me. I don't have to listen to you. That kind of thing really becomes an issue. Just smoked some pork ribs tonight, used Dr. Pepper glaze. You know what? I've never done that, man. That sounds actually really cool. I've never glazed anything with Dr. Pepper, and I can get that down here. Maybe I'll give that a try. Yeah, the Bible says even God does not delight in the death of the wicked. They just wish they would repent. I just wish that we could all figure out a way to get along. There was a time in the country where debate was considered a really beautiful thing. Now, if somebody disagrees with you, and you guys are fantastic, but there is a large section of the society that believes that debate is a bad thing. If the person disagrees with you, then they're scum, and that's not a good thing. I've heard of people using Jägermeisters to glaze ham. I have had Jägermeister as a glaze. I didn't do it. I had a friend named Curtis Kelly, and the Curtis and the Kelly were both spelled with K's. So his nickname as a skier was K2, and K2 used to glaze ham every Thanksgiving, and he would do it with Jägermeister, and it was good. But I wouldn't say it was fantastic. And here's the thing with Jägermeister. Even when I was a drinker, that's Jägermeister. Everyone says, it tastes like cough syrup. I really had a thing for cough syrup as a kid. Vicks Formula 44, the original formula, I loved that. But people always say that it tastes like Jägermeister, and I think that it tasted way better than Jägermeister. There's something to that. There's something to that, Rhonda. She says, as long as there are humans and greed, money and power involved, we're all screwed. Yeah, I think I understand where you're coming from, but I think that that's kind of simplistic because not everything can be explained by greed. Not everything, in my opinion, comes back to greed. A lot of it does, make no mistake, but I don't think it all does. The Dr. Pepper with brown sugar tenderizes the meat. Getting hungry right now. See, that sounds really good. Right. It tastes more like black licorice, and I'm not a huge black licorice fan. My dad was a Baton Rouge police officer. He was shot arriving in a bank robbery. Oh, my Lord. He was okay, but I was 3 at the time. These people need to realize that officers have families. I never carried a gun robbing a bank. I will have you know that. And that's the truth. That's why I didn't get huge sentences. I never used a weapon. Rhonda, that's just too simplistic. So every single person that ends up dead is because of greed, correct? How about a guy that walks in and sees his wife banging the neighbor and shoots both of them? That's not greed. That's not power, right? That's somebody that's feelings are hurt, right? That has nothing to do with greed or power. There are a lot of murders that take place that are senseless as hell, that don't have anything to do with money. And if you think that, the issue right now with what's happening with ICE comes down to money, I think that's wildly simplistic. I really do. But we can agree to disagree. When my throat is trashed, usually on a cruise when I'm singing karaoke every night, sipping Jaeger is truly medicinal. They can bring it on. I just don't think that you can say it as a blanket statement that it always brings it on, right? It certainly doesn't bring it on during crimes of passion. It doesn't bring it on in times of mental illness. It doesn't bring it on in times of people that spent way too much time awake on methamphetamine, right? It doesn't always come back to greed and power, but it certainly does from time to time. But I kind of wish that we could get to a place where these kinds of discussions can happen peacefully. It won't, unfortunately, and not for a while anyway. Here's what happens: believe it or not, about every 7 or 8 years, we have a new generation of people that are coming up, and if you get, say, 2 or 3 of those in a row, right? Oh, of course you're somebody. Don't say that, Rhonda. You are absolutely somebody. But every 8 years or so, we get a whole new crew of people that are coming up. In fact, way back in the day when multi-level marketing, they were trying to get it eliminated in Congress because eventually you run out of people, right? Everybody's kind of heard the pitch. And Congress said that every 8 years, there's a whole new group of people that have never heard of this. And that is one of the reasons that they allow that kind of money-making scheme to continue, right? It also means that if you kind of let the narrative get out of control for 16 years, right? For instance, the entitlement narrative, the narrative that says you can't touch me if I don't give you permission to touch me, even if you're a cop. Like I said, somebody sent me this video today and I was watching it. Like a little dessert. That's right, Audrey in Denver. We're cleaning the palate. And I was watching these people today, and this girl says, I'm calling my mother. And the cop says, you can't call your mother. You're in the middle of a traffic stop. You're being detained. I know my rights. I can call my mother. And she just continued to do this until eventually they had to pull her out of the automobile. And there's just this entitlement thing that goes on where, once we lose respect for authority, we're in really deep trouble. And that translates down to high school. That translates down to elementary school, right? There just is one of those. Is there any way to stop these antagonizers, the Soros? Island Girl, here's the thing. Half of the audience here isn't going to believe that the Soros do any of this antagonizing. Now, I have deep dived the crap out of that family, and they literally fund tens of millions of dollars monthly for protests. This is something that the Soros family does. They want these protests to go on, and they will pay people to show up and protest. That's a fact, whether anybody wants to believe it or not. If you research it, it'll take about 15 minutes to find out the names of some of the organizations that they fund. It's ugly, but it's one of those things. And there's a lot of people that do this, right? There's a lot of people that want protest because you can bet on money. You understand this? In fact, the betting on currency is a larger game than the stock market. There is more money bet on what's called the Forex market, which is the foreign exchange market on cash, than on anything else. In fact, our gross domestic product daily, like $24 trillion a day, is bet on this worldwide. And if you can destabilize a country, then you can bet against their currency. Iran would be a great example of that right now. Iran's currency is so in the dumps that I don't even think they're allowing anybody to bet on it anymore. But you can make a lot of money watching an economy, a currency fail. And there are a lot of people that want the currency of the United States to no longer be the default currency for oil. If you buy oil anywhere on the planet, you have to exchange your money. The leader of the Proud Boys named CIA. Yes, we talked about that in the last feed. Kids don't fear authority anymore. I literally rather be gone than disappoint my dad. Yeah, I was the same way. That was a thing for me. That really was a thing for me. I was more afraid of my family than I was the cops. My nephew grew up wanting to be a cop. He made it to the police force, worked less than a year, and quit. He said he couldn't believe the complete lack of respect and courtesy for law enforcement. There's a guy that puts out, there's a person out there that puts out these memes, and it just shows cops being absolutely abused. And you hear a voice that sounds like Bruce Willis's from the first Die Hard movie, where he goes, "Come out to LA, we'll have a couple of laughs." There's a voice that comes on and says, "Become a cop. You're going to dig it. It's something new every day." I can't imagine being a police officer today. It would be, I can't think of anything that would be more of a nightmare for a job. And that sucks. It really does. I don't understand how people can support these horrible people. They always have an excuse for a kid to die. But if an illegal gets arrested, they raise hell. It's interesting, Ethan. there is definitely, I mean, this is the same group of people, I'm sorry, and I'm sure I'm going to make more friends, but the same group of people that were dancing on Charlie Kirk's grave and laughing and making jokes about him getting shot in the neck were the people that, were really upset that a protester got shot in the neck, right? Thing is, I'm not a cop hater. I don't believe everything is the cops do is wrong. I believe that we can't survive without the police. But what is going on now? They are not cops to me. Well, that is completely, you're right, Joan. But I think you're confusing the agents of ICE and the police, who are two different things, right? Police don't work for the federal government. ICE does. So it's different stuff. Tommy, do you think that the Christian evangelical church influences USA politics? And do you think it's good to mix religion with it? I believe in morals for politicians to abide by. Well, here's the great question for that, Christy Collins. Where do morals come from, right? I mean, if we take that back to its just complete, like, base thought, where do morals come from? Because no two people have the same morals, unless by some chance those people happen to believe in a higher power. And then the morals tend to come from that, right? The laws that are kind of set up by the belief in a higher power. There are people out there who believe, do what thou wilt will be the entirety of the law, right? If those people happen to get into to government, then where are we going, right? Anything goes. And the fact that Epstein was allowed to do the things that he was doing, that was governments that let that happen. Right? If you happen to, you don't have to believe my theory, but my theory on this is that it's the Mossad, it's the CIA, and it was MI6. Those are three governments that said it's okay for us to allow 2,000 girls to get molested if it's going to benefit our countries. Right? That moral right there is pretty nasty and screwed up. So there are people that believe that maybe they're better off if there are morals that are being influenced by some kind of a belief in a higher power, but that's every single person's opinion, I guess. But he absolutely said that there was an us versus them mentality. Well, there is, right? There's no getting around that. There was an us versus them mentality. And it should be that us should all believe in some kind of law, and that the people that would be them are the people that break laws and want to hurt people, right? That should be the us versus them, because people that want to hurt kids should all be locked up in prison, whether those people have the permission of governments, right? Like in the case of Epstein or whatever, the satanic stuff needs to go. I agree with you. Somebody sent me a meme today that said it was a Hollywood sign, except it said like pedophilia would or something along those lines. And it showed actors and all of the different people that they were dating, how old those people were. And it's terrifying. I'll use it tomorrow on one of my shows. There doesn't have to be an us versus them mentality, though. Well, I don't know that I agree with that, Cricket, right? I think it becomes a problem when the us versus them, pedo would, that's what it was. I think that the problem becomes the us versus them should be that people that break the law, people that hurt kids, all of that, they should be the them. And the rest of us should all be part of the us versus them. But you have people out there that are really, really happy. It was texted to me by Johnny Scoville, actually. Wasn't trying to out Johnny Scoville, but it was sent to me via text from my brother. I didn't want to out Johnny on that one, but I will. So what happens is you've got people that will stand up for people that break the law. There are people out there today that are fighting to change pedophilia into minor attracted person, because it is a stigma for the pedophile to call them a pedophile. I think that they should have every stigma that they've got coming to them. I have absolutely no sympathy for anybody that wants to say those people are just victims too. F you, right? F you. Now that's an extreme example, isn't it? But there are also people out there that would like to change the word bestiality to zoophile, because zoophile doesn't sound as nasty. If you want to have sex with an animal, animals cannot consent, right? That's bestiality. You should be doing prison time for that, or maybe torture, right? I'm not going to say minor attracted people, and I'm not going to say zoophile. The people that want to hijack our language, this is where we start to come up with the us versus them thing. And it shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't. We should all, like the Man Boy Love Association, NAMBLA, pretty nasty organization of people. And there are some very famous people that were part of that. I agree with you. I'm just trying to give you sort of the ultimate, right? It's over the top in its example, but that is just one example, right? Great track. You're right. Us and Them, Pink Floyd. If you want to go know about them, look into Bohemian Grove. Yeah, we're you. Well played, Leslie. Did I see your comment about Charlie? I didn't. Let me see if I can get back up there and find it. Let me see here. You know that I'm not very good at this. I miss Charlie. Don't you think his reach could probably help us right now? Well, I think that that's the reason he's dead, right? There are people that didn't want his message getting out. And for that reason, he was killed. And that's, it's a terrifying world when somebody wants to kill somebody because of their message. It's a scarier world when people celebrate that. And you can say whatever you want. A shitload of people celebrated that man's death. As far as I'm concerned, those are them, right? They're not part of my us. That is definitely a them. There's some sick people out there. I am working on getting our visa to move to Ecuador. They have rules and requirements we must follow. We don't question it. We accept that is what needed to exactly right. And here's the good news. They're fairly simple. If you follow them, they're gonna push you through. No, here's the thing. And I think this is actually a pretty interesting point because this is something that's kind of jumped off the page at me. I feel like when you become fully developed as a country, you've passed every law you could ever need to pass. And then you start looking for laws to pass because you have to justify your job in government. What does a politician do? A politician passes laws. If you don't pass laws, we don't need politicians. What happens when you have enough laws? How can we come up with 38,000 new laws a year? It doesn't make any sense to me, right? I agree with you, Cricket. I don't celebrate anybody that gets shot. That's not something that's worth celebrating. That is pretty ugly, in my opinion, right? Well, Leslie, we would have to believe you, right? And one of the things that is a problem, with all due respect, is that people say stuff like, believe me, right? So we're going to take your belief that this is what will happen. And you might be right, but people believe something and it is law in their head, right? They're not open to other concepts or other ideas, right? They just go with the believe me. And it's that truthy thing. This is so true that nothing is going to make it otherwise. And that's a frightening thing. So once a country starts to get as developed as the United States, you see somebody pulled over and a cop immediately, no matter what the hell happens, right? You see a car accident. Guy gets T-boned by a drunk. And the first thing they say to the guy that got hit by the car is, can I see your license and your proof of insurance? What are we doing, right? It just seems like we do what we can to harass the shit out of everybody, right? And that's not something that happens down here. They're not really in your face about too much. If you're just living your life, then they're not busting your balls about it. You will see people on a scooter riding down the road with 4 people on it because that's their family, right? And I understand what you're saying, Leslie, but can you understand what I'm saying? People say, hey, believe me, this is exactly what's going to happen. And there are people that will believe you. We have laws of how high a urinal has to be off of the ground in a playground. And there have been playgrounds that are shut down, right? Had to be completely rebuilt because all the urinals were an inch too low or an inch too high. We got too much time on our friggin' hands. That's just downright stupid, right? It really is. It's just downright stupid. And it's an issue. Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate you. I think you're right about that, Tommy. If the country won't back itself up a bit and continue on as we are, it will have to collapse. I think being in a developing country might be the best. There's something really beautiful about being in a place like this. If there's a problem in a place like Ecuador, the citizenry fixes it. You follow me? If there's something that needs to be done, they do it. They don't reach out, ask for government, start making phone calls. They're just as a small example. There's a place on the Malecone that, because of where it sits, whenever the water becomes an issue, it's not very often, but whenever the water becomes an issue, this one spot will flood. So, we could bring in the Army Corps of Engineers. What happened is, on one Saturday, about 40 what they call maestros. These are guys that can do electric. They can lay down tile. They can do any. They're maestros. They can do anything having to do with construction. They all showed up and raised a little curb in front of these people's shops and homes about a foot high. Right? Doesn't interfere with the walkway or anything else. I promise you, in the United States, you couldn't do that. You would have to get 45 permits, but these guys just showed up and did it. And that's just one example of things where they come out in force to fix problems. They don't ask help for it. They don't file 500 pieces of paper. In the apartment I'm in right now, if I wanted to open a restaurant in this apartment, I could do it because the zoning laws are not the same way. Now, would I make it? Probably not. But the guys on the first floor of this building, 2 of them have opened restaurants because there's nothing illegal about it. And they're great restaurants, right? But in America, you got to file 500 pieces of paper to open a business. You got to file, 500 pieces of paper to put a road down. And it just kind of gets out of control. And the reason that you have to file all that paperwork is because we have to continue. Hey, I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie Loving Life. I appreciate that. Debbie, I'm looking forward to hearing your opinion when you get here. I really am. A place like Ecuador is how USA. Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly. Leslie says a place like Ecuador is how the USA used to be when I grew up. Much more freedom to choose one's destiny. No regulations. Correct. And I know expats here that are 85, 90 years old. And a guy said to me, I grew up in Long Island. This is an expat here. We were sitting at a bar one night. I was having a beer with him. And what happened is this guy sat down next to me. He's a black dude, funny as hell. But I heard him say something to the waiter, and I went, hey, was that English I just heard? And he looked at me and went, okay. And then he started to laugh. He goes, it's English, but I usually pretend I don't speak it. I said, I completely understand that. And we started to talk. He's just a really great guy. He said, I grew up in Long Island. He said, and it was just like this. He said, it really was. And then it changed. He said, and I came on vacation here and I thought, this is it, right? This is what it's like. Plus you can pick fresh fruit and fish, and eat without money. Not to mention the fact that I can buy 18 eggs for about $2.50, right? And we don't wash the bloom off the egg. This is something we do in the United States because you have to put the egg up against a light so that we can see if there's blood inside. Because of how we do the artificial insemination of the birds, right? We have to make sure that there's no blood inside. That's not something they have to worry about here. So they don't wash the coating off the outside of the eggs, which means you don't have to refrigerate them. That's kind of cool, right? They also have milk here that is not homogenized, that isn't pasteurized. They don't go through all the same things they do in the United States. And for that reason, I've got milk sitting on a shelf. I put it in the refrigerator as I need it. Jess Jones says, used to walk to the playground, walk to school, walked all over town, no problems, no worries, no fear. Those days are gone. Yeah, not here. I walk around. You get blueberry juice in cartons. That alone makes me envious. Speaking of which, I'm drinking blueberry tonight. And this is 1 liter of blueberry juice. And there's no additives, there's no preservatives. This is just pressed blueberries, right? However, it is expensive. It's 99 cents a carton. You got to pay 99 cents a liter. How long do eggs last not being refrigerated, though? I have never had one go bad, but I cook with eggs a lot. I would say the longest I've had one in here was probably be about 14 days, but there's no issue. Oh, that is the silliest. Thanks again, Debbie Loving Life. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Big relapse. Feels like I don't deserve to be here. Do you mean a relapse in drugs makes you feel like you don't deserve to be here? Listen up really quickly. If there is one thing, and I mean, you're giving me the finger right now, Cricket. If there is one thing that you need to learn is this. There are great relapses, right? There are stupendous relapses. And then there are relapses that are a waste of time. This is obviously causing you to be stressed out about it, right? That usually means you're on your way to a good relapse. If you figure out why you relapsed, right, and you take action to make sure that that does not happen again, then that's a great relapse. My last relapse was the perfect relapse because I'm never going to have another one. But relapse is part of recovery. And if you don't accept that going in, then you have a great excuse to go back and use. Anytime there's that bump in the road, right? Anytime that, you have a stumble, you had 6 months in. Okay, so this is a great point. Thank you for helping me with this. Because 6 months is 180 days, right? So now you have no days. None, right? Now you have no days of sobriety. Bullshit. So out of the last 181 days, you used one of them. And yet we just look at the failure, right? We don't look at the 180 days that were successful. You started to feel successful at 180 days and you think, you know what? I bet I could do this. I bet I could use just once and be fine. We all do this, right? We all do this. I remember talking to a guy on the boat the first year we were in business. 10 years he had been sober. And he came into the chat and said the same kind of thing. He said, I relapsed. I said, how long did you use? He said, 4 days. He said, I lost all that good time. You did? You did? What the hell do you mean you did? No. So 10 years, that would be what? 365 days times 10. What's that? 3,650 plus days. And you're going to concentrate on the 4 that you spent drinking. How about if you take all that together and say less than 1/2 of 1% or whatever was failure? The rest of it was absolutely amazing. Mo says, I relapsed last week. You are not alone. I relapsed 2 years ago. Did a video on it. You can go watch it called I Relapsed. I didn't relapse on heroin, but I took Valium, I think it was. And I did it to catch a buzz. I didn't do it for any other reason. I didn't do it for a medical reason. I wanted to catch a buzz. So I came out, told everybody. Should I shut down the channel? You get up and you dust yourself off. The recovery is not using, right? If you think that recovery is not using, then you're already screwed. Recovery is the life's ambition of not being addicted to drugs, right? So if you hit a bump in the road or anything happens that gets you off of that for a minute, concentrate on how much good you did. In that 180 days, you had to overcome every time you wanted to use. You successfully did that. Don't concentrate on the bump. Get back to the 180 days, right? At the end of this year, you should be able to say, I did 6 months, I relapsed, then I did 6 more months. So at the end of the year, if you go, yeah, I relapsed for 2 days, but I was sober 365, keep coming back. But whether or not your membership is gone, that's all fun and games. That's cool. But don't stop coming here. And you absolutely should be here. In fact, all bullshit aside, the people that are stumbling need to be here more than the people that are killing it. This isn't a place where we all celebrate our victories. We all come to lean on each other so we don't fail. Well, this is where you're supposed to be, man. Right? How about some ones for Carlos, man? Huh? How about some love? Because honestly, this is where you're supposed to be. This is one of the reasons that I started this channel. Do you understand? True story. I remember going to Narcotics Anonymous, and you would go to the door, and the guy would say to somebody, what am I smelling? Did you smoke weed before you got here? And someone would go, no, man, that was heroin. I smoked heroin. Well, then you can't come in here. Imagine showing up and saying you're at the oncologist, right? You're there to get cancer treatments, and you show up and say, I need your help. And they go, you can't come in here. You have cancer. How stupid is that, right? But they would turn people away from meetings. This is where you're supposed to be. And you're supposed to be here way more if you just relapsed than if you're doing well. If you're doing well, it's great to have you here so that you can help people that just relapsed. But the purpose of this channel when it first started was to give a person a place to go where no one was going to judge him for relapsing. I'll throw a dude off this boat quickly for judging anybody for hitting a relapse. This is part of the process. I promise you it is. And the fact that you're bummed out about it, winning, right? If you had decided to use and you were just like, screw it, right? Okay, that's failure. Right? That's failure. But there's nothing worse in the world than someone who goes, well, I blew 10 years. I may as well spend the next 3 years doing dope. How logical is that, right? Well, I lost all that good time. You didn't lose shit. I'm sorry, you didn't. That 180 days is still there. You right? You understand? I promise you, man. I promise you. You're exactly where you need to be, right? You're exactly where you need to be. Of course you hadn't thought about it like that. That's because everywhere you go for recovery, they tell you that you just lost all your good time. Well, that's freaking stupid. You are so right, Tommy, about looking at a relapse in a positive way and focusing on the time that you were clean. I have depression and I have to focus on small wins to change my mindset. Absolutely. But I'll tell you something, right? A lot of those are huge. Hey, Sweetie Poo, good to see you. 180 days is massive, especially considering that the first 90 are really the hard ones, right? Ex-addicts are the worst judges. Makes them feel more moral. Absolutely it does, man. 180 days and only 4 days is far less than a casual drinker. That's right. I mean, honestly, you're killing it. 180 days is massive. That first 90 days, that's the hardest to get through, man. That is the hardest to get through. And you've already killed that. You're going to do it again. The fact that this really bumps you out says that you are on the road to recovery. You weren't chemical free. You were actually on the road to recovery. You were working a program. Yeah. So next 30-day chip is only 1 day more. That's it. So this channel helped me break free from agoraphobia. I felt safe here, safe enough to talk. I know that each of us is screwed up in some way. Here helps you clear your head and learn to move on. There's a lot of truth to that, man. Right? There's a lot of truth to that. I'm an absolute screw up, people. I mean, my God, can you imagine if I judged myself by my relapses? I went to prison for possession of stolen property, right? I got out. And then I relapsed back into drugs and crime. And I went to prison for bank robbery. So if we judged everybody by relapses, how bad is that one? I went from just having possession of stolen property to being a bank robber. And it was multiple banks. It was a crap load of banks, right? I got out, was doing great, blew a marriage, blew a family, blew my sobriety, and started doing dope again, right? And then I started to run guns. The crime kept going up. The relapses kept going up. It's a good thing I didn't quit then, because that last relapse was the great relapse. I went to prison, continued to use dope. I used dope for about the first 4 years that I was in. Then I got sober. And since then, I've never put another needle in my arm. I did Valium. I relapsed on Valium. I only did it for a day. I didn't do it for a week or whatever. And I came on here and sat in front of the camera. And in fact, I think the title of the video is I Relapsed. Because I knew that if I didn't tell everybody, then I was right back to being the scumbag that I used to be, right? Just lie. No one will know. They can't see me. No one knows what I did. I had to tell people what I did. But the fact that you came here and said that means you're exactly where you need to be. Remember it. The next time, play the tape all the way through. That helped me. You know what? I'm telling you, there's something to that. I was here from the start, and honestly, it helped me, but I did not start drinking again, and I was ashamed. So I didn't come on for a while. Well, I'm glad that you're back, right? You're as sick as your secrets. What a great comment. I did totally rat myself out. Cricket says, you totally ratted yourself out, and I was here to witness it. Yeah, and I'll tell you something. I have regrets from that too, because I was so in my head about it. I was so messed up about it that I came on and did that show before I talked to either of my kids. And if you think about it, that's one of the sleaziest things in the world. By the way, I managed to talk to one of them before they saw it. But the fact that I didn't call my family first, but I was terrified. I was so afraid that if I didn't come on and tell everyone that I was going to lie about it. And if I had, the guilt of lying, the guilt of the relapse, I was over that in 2 or 3 days. I really was. But the guilt of lying would have driven me right back into a spoon and a needle. I promise you it would have. But don't beat yourself up over a relapse unless you decide to keep that relapse going for 3 or 4 weeks, and then I'll shit on you. I really will. That's a bad relapse. You didn't learn anything. You're just deciding to party again. But if this is making you hurt, you feel like you're not supposed to be here, then obviously it's affecting you. You want to stay sober. Good. Get out your journal and start writing down what was happening in your head right before you took the drink, sniffed it, smoked it, whatever it is you did. Something happened right before then, right? Thank you, Susan Nelson. I really appreciate that. Don't regret that. So good for you to talk about it for so many. Well, you know what? Honest is probably the most important thing that I can do, because my drug of choice was heroin. And I don't know how many heroin addicts you've known over the course of your life, but heroin addicts, the fruit of heroin addiction is lying. You have to lie to everybody that you know, because nobody wants you to be a heroin addict, right? So, hey, where are you going? You have to answer that with a lie. What time are you coming by? I'm not sure. Why am I not sure? Because I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait in the parking lot for this guy to show up and bring me my dope. So I'm going to have to tell you a lie about that. What did you do yesterday? right? What are you doing for work? Every single question someone asked me, I had to lie to. And when you do that for 3 decades, it starts to eat your soul and you get so accustomed to it. I'm honestly, I'm blessed that I have somebody in my life that I'm not comfortable lying to. And it was the start of a lot of changes for me. She's a person that I can't do it. She's not somebody that I can lie to. And you know what? If you ever find somebody like that, you should probably marry them, right? Madam Whoop-Ass, good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. Truthfully, if you can find somebody that you cannot lie to, put a ring on them. It'll make you a better human being. Yep, journal triggers, Leslie says. Write down exactly what happened, right? This is your opportunity. Every time there's a relapse, you should be thinking to yourself, this is my golden ticket, right? This is my golden ticket. This is where I can sit down and journal and find out why I just did what I did. And I mean, start with the relapse. Start with picking up the drink and then back up, right? What was going through your head that you thought that was a good idea? You keep backing that up and you're going to get to, this is what I was thinking before I started to think about using. But idle hands. And here's the other thing that you need to remember, and this is a fact for everybody. I don't care what you're working on. If it's sobriety, if it's mental health, if it's whatever, it is so much easier to fail than it is to be successful. As a 30-year heroin addict, no matter how much money I made, when I worked as a public speaker, I made rock star money. Honestly, bad month, you could make 30 grand. It was just a lot of money. And it didn't matter how much I did, I would continue to party that much away, right? That is just literally what I would do. I would party myself out of every single penny that I had. Being open and honest with yourself is part of the healing process and learning about yourself as well. The one thing that's guaranteed is that we will never stop learning. Not if you're going to be successful, man, right? Addicts are go-getters. We get our drug always, right? Use that drive for something healthier. That's a great point. I remember my brother walking. I was too sick to get up and move, and our car wasn't working. And my brother walked in the Nevada sun 11 miles, picked up and walked 11 miles back. No joke. I mean, you wouldn't do that for anything else on earth, right? Patty King says, this is only my second chat. This is the first one I've ever participated in. You're my kind of people. What a cool thing to say. Well, then you are among friends, right? This is a fantastic group of people. It really is. But I remember that journaling process and the light bulb going off when you go, holy hell, right? I'm so good at being a failure that my default setting was, I just blew all of my money. I'm lying to everybody I know. I probably am not going to make rent. I got to come up with a hustle to come up with $4 or $5 grand. That was my default setting. And if you do that for a long enough period of time, that's where you're comfortable, right, Carlos? So you get 180 days of sobriety in you and you're starting to go like this, right? Like, what the hell is going on, right? When I first started the lifeboat, it was such a trip because I had all of these people going, wow, I love what you're doing. You're such a good guy. Thank you for the help. I hadn't heard that shit ever in my entire life. I heard you're a scumbag. You should be locked up. The hell's the matter with you? And it was super uncomfortable. If you watch the early days of the lifeboat, I was not very good at taking a compliment. I wasn't at all. I would downplay it, or I would say, nah, don't say that stuff, right? Thank you, but don't say that. I just am not very good at taking compliments because I never earned them, right? In 30 years, I was a scumbag. Ethan Walters, great thing. Got to go call my son. I love it. That's a great reason to leave here, man. It really is. Sandy Wendy says, Patty King, that's great. Glad you are here. I think we all are. And the more you participate, the more you're going to get out of it. But so, Carlos, there was probably something to just being a little uncomfortable that you had 180 days of sobriety in, right? We're not used to success, and that is success with a capital S. So we start looking for a way to short circuit ourselves so we can get back to a mindset that makes more sense to us. Failure. And that's just something that requires a little bit of training. You know, you got to get good at saying to yourself or to a journal or to somebody close to you, I'm feeling super uncomfortable in my own skin. Why? If you can answer that question, you will always stay sober. Why am I feeling uncomfortable in my own skin? Because I'm not used to being successful. I got money in my bank, right? Things are going good. I have no idea. This isn't how I'm used to feeling. We get a norm. We get a baseline. And when you start moving and going away from that baseline, it becomes uncomfortable. You know what? I'm kind of this way too. I'll be honest. I am kind of this way too. I don't trust advice from people who have never been through what I need help with. They see through our BS, and that's critical. It absolutely is. The reason that I'm here today is because I could not bullshit Q, the guy that helped me get sober, at all. I don't know that anybody could, but I sure as hell couldn't. He called me on all of it. Like I remember when he first started having me journal. He said, "I'm not going to check your journal, but I just want to know that you're doing it." So I lied to him, right? Because what I did. And I was probably about 8 days in. And he said, "Last night you said you were going to journal about something specifically. You don't have to show it to me, but I want you to read back to me what you wrote." And I was like, "All right, man, we could probably, we're about to get locked down. We'll do it after dinner or whatever." And he was walking me to the cell. He was right behind me. And I was walking down BSing the whole time, like bluffing a poker game. And when I got to the door, I turned around and said to him, "I didn't write in the journal." He goes, "I know that. I knew you didn't. But you ain't going to get any better if you don't. And if you're going to waste my time, then maybe, we shouldn't work together. But I knew you were lying to me." And it just got to a point where I got tired of him calling me on all my lies. So I started telling him the truth. And you can get addicted to it. You can get addicted to the feeling of knowing that you're telling somebody on earth the truth. I promise you, it's a great feeling. You just have to get by that initial discomfort because it's not what we're used to. But it's a beautiful thing. We in this chat are an acquired taste. I think anyone who sticks around and reads the chat will come to know that most of us are okay people. Those that don't think we're loons, I can live with that. Yeah, I can too. Wow. Patty says, "My dad was a cop. I didn't tell you I've been arrested 3 times, been sober 20 years. 20 years. Can we get a tray for that? Give us a 3 as a congratulations, because that's a hell of a long time. That's double what I got in. Patty, congratulations. However, I got you beat in the arrest part. 3, you say? Man, I got a lot more than 3 in. A lot more than 3 in. Not something I'm proud of, but I got more than 3 felonies, much less arrests. I was a really bad guy for a really long time. But congratulations, Patty with an I, and you are among friends. I promise you, you are in the right place. This is absolutely a tribe of people that understand. And do we agree on everything? We do not. But we all know that we all know some basic truths, like it is better to not be addicted, right? It is better to not be addicted. And kindness doesn't know any political party, right? Love doesn't know any political party. All of that bullshit was invented by man. But things like love and kindness and just, being good to people, that's a beautiful thing. Where's my sidekick? He may be in a hammock right now, or he may be jamming on a guitar, one or the other. But he's no longer in the studio. This is technically the studio. But I wasn't quite done. Kung Fu Panda, good to see you here. Kindness is free. It really is, man. Kindness is free. And the dividends it pays, I'm telling you. Here's the other thing. Pay attention. Beautiful is a choice. Beautiful isn't the way you're born. It has nothing to do with the distance of your nose, how much cheekbone you've got, is your jaw protrude or not protrude, all of that shit. That has to do with symmetry, right? Attractive and beautiful are 2 different things. I was married to an attractive woman that was one of the ugliest people I ever met in my life. And I have met people that are so beautiful because every day they get up and choose to be beautiful. And I'll tell you something else for those that, because I get questions all the time where people say, what are the biggest differences between being an expat and living in South America and living in the United States? And I think the biggest thing for me, honestly, is that I don't get programmed anymore, right? They program us in North America. They decide what is beautiful. They decide what is intelligent. They decide what is everything. And they market it to you to the point where you begin to look at people and say, well, that person's beautiful and that person's not. And it's not your opinion. And I promise you, because if you get away from that for a long enough period of time, in Ecuador, you go down to the beach, and there are men and women on the beach from 105 pounds to 310 pounds. And you will not notice any of them being self-conscious about how they look, nor will you see any of them strutting around because their weight is what we're being told is beautiful. You'll see 300-pound women in thongs that walk around with more confidence than anyone you've ever seen because no one's programming them to say, well, that's not attractive, but that is. And it's life-changing. I promise you it is. I tried weed on my school campus back in 95, got suspended. Anyway, I hated it, never touched it again. Also, I hate alcohol. You know what? Love cats. First of all, love cats. How great a name is that? We're already friends. I'm a pretty big fan of cats. Maybe too much so. I prefer cats to people, and that's probably not a good thing, but I really do. Cats are fantastic. What was my dinner? It was steak, and it was perfect. It really was. It was absolutely perfect. I did it with some like an onion sauce that I do in wine, like a reduction. Absolutely incredible. Anyone that was on the last show, did you notice there was a lot of differences between some of us, yet here we are. Those differences don't break us. I don't have to agree with you, nor you with me. No, but we're kind to one another, right? In spite of our disagreements. Cats are awesome, are they not? An attractive outside and an evil inside makes an ugly person. You're damn right. Was it a tomahawk steak? It was, oddly enough, a tomahawk steak. An expensive one. I think I had $13 in it. Shotty got them apple bottom jeans. Leave it to cricket. Community. Yeah, community is a beautiful thing. But no, that was one of the biggest changes for me. The cats, love cats, the cure. Yeah. That was one of the biggest things for me was watching how you look at other people and how that changes. You know, you first get here and you walk down the beach and you're like, oh man, that person's way too big to have on a bikini. And a month later, you're going, well, you know what? You got to respect that person being out there in a bikini. 3 months later, you just don't think about it anymore at all. And you start to see beauty in ways that you didn't before, right? But it's very different. Some guys find this beautiful. Some guys find that beautiful. But no one's busting on anybody for how the other half lives or how the other half finds somebody attractive or not attractive. The programming thing is ugly. It really is. It's ugly. And we don't think about it until you get separated from it for about a year. And you realize that, you know, the first time I saw a car that I wanted as a kid, it wasn't just a car ad. In the car ad was a beautiful woman. And if you got that car, you got that woman. Like that was in your head. And what made her beautiful? Well, they told me she was beautiful. They told me that this is what a woman ought to look like. And I just don't look at things like that anymore. It's way, way different. We're all cool unless you got wrenched in the head, then you're not. It's not a bad way to put it. Your wee Louie is my soul pet. My soul pet is not in the room. I don't know where Zipper is right now. Squirrel not Zipper. Come here, Zip. She's a bit obstinate this evening, but Squirrel Nut Zipper is my. There he is.
So it's his sidekick?
Yeah, someone was wondering whether you were playing a guitar or what you were doing. Good Lord, man. It's like an older version of me, almost. Where's my cat? Have you seen her?
She's sleeping under bed.
Worthless. Okay. She used to actually put effort in, right? She was the cat in the basket. She used to be here every night like clockwork. If you go back and watch the old shows, virtually every single one of those shows ended with, I'm Tommy, and this is a cat in a basket. She just won't do it anymore. She's become spoiled since her sister got here. You know, she didn't have a sister for the first 3.5, 4 years of her life. Now she has this big, and I mean big, Maine Coon cat sister.
I wonder if she remembers life before.
If so, she definitely didn't enjoy it as much. The two of them are so funny. They fight all day long. Never scratch each other, never hurt each other, but they fight all day long. Chase each other around, up and down stuff. She's a total diva. She is. I mean, honestly, she is an absolute diva. And it's so funny to see the two of them together because Squirrel has these itty bitty little dainty paws. And then you look at Katy Perry and she'll sort of box her. I tell every 20-something in my life, you're going to look back on these pictures one day and realize how great you look. Stop pointing out the tiny imperfections. That's genius. That's absolutely genius. You know the only problem with that is though?
Those are the Ecuador's Martian birds.
You know what I look back? I go like this. Good God, I had a mullet. Or I look back.
There's a picture of you and I with matching mullets in the same picture.
We have ties on. That's one of the worst pictures ever, man.
I had bad dreams of that.
That picture, yeah. I would shut my channel down if that picture got out. Just had to put one of my fur children down last night. Oh man, I am so sorry, Mo. That is so hard. And they are babies, man. They really are. Yeah, I look back and go, what the hell am I doing wearing leather pants? Right? Why did I have a mullet? You know, was acid wash really not?
Listen, dude.
I wore a lot of acid
to the
wash.
front, party of the rear.
Yeah, the Kentucky waterfall, I like to call it. We had mullets that would rival what's his name?
Joe Dirt.
No, well, good, but that's not. No, what's her name's dad?
Oh yeah,
The
Miley
achy
Cyrus.
breaky heart. Yeah, Miley Cyrus's old man. I literally had the
Oh,
Billy
he's a
Ray
pop-
Cyrus.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We had the Billy Ray Cyrus one.
He had the Scoville ones. I like to think of it.
Yeah, he had the Scoville ones. Herd of buffaloes running through the house at 4 a.m. Oh, you have them too. Yeah, Billy Ray Cyrus. That's right, Debbie. Love and Life. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to, how about a couple of prayers for our friend that lost the fur baby, because that's really tough. It really is. We really do have this is a crew that loves animals. Tommy, find the Wesley Willis song, Cut the Mullet, and you will weep with laughter. I will have to see this. Dude was homeless and had a Casio keyboard, used to make music on the streets. Do you want to hear something? This is a true story. So way back in the day, when the internet was just a baby, I had a business, right, called Worldwide Internet Consultants. And the internet was brand new. There was literally just, there were hundreds of thousands of websites. There weren't millions and, billions of websites. It was brand new. But one of them was a website that somebody called Mullet Hunter. And they're long gone now. But Mullet Hunter used to go out and take pictures of people with mullets. And then they would say, I caught this guy coming out of a Walmart in Poughkeepsie.
I remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And I would send them over to Johnny and be like, you got to see this one. More cat in a basket. I'm with you. We really do need more cat in a basket. I promise you it's coming back. The problem is now I need a basket that's visible from space.
That's like Fable Cat Routine, we decided to call it.
You first saw me on STS alongside of Larry talking about the Luigi case. Anyway, you're awesome. Great insight. Thank you, Love Cats. Boy, that was a while ago. On there with Larry. Boy, that was a long time ago. You have a 120-pound pit bull and a 5-pound chihuahua, the best of buddies. Well, I have a 120-pound cat. No, I can't back that up. But she sure feels like she's 120 pounds, doesn't she?
Oh.
I have cat in a dish. Well, there you go. Business in the front, party in the back. You can have my GoPro. We need 24/7 live kitty cam. Don't threaten me with a good time. We've been talking about that. We've been very seriously talking about wiring up the cats. So that could happen. Anything else you hear from Wesley Willis will also crack you up. Suck a cheetah's dick. Nice. I kicked Batman's ass, etc., etc. I'm going to have to check that out. When I started reading the suck the cheetah thing, I didn't realize where that was going to go. But you love squirrel. How can you not love squirrel? Squirrel's a lady. That's why people always talk about cleaning litter and it's a pain in the butt or whatever. We clean our litter around here. It probably gets done 2 or 3 times a day because we have ladies, man. They shouldn't have to deal with any of that.
There you go.
Tartan Granny Jane. I have to go, guys. Take care. Much love from Scotland. Love that. You found me on Sean Atwood's. I love Sean Atwood. He's a great guy, man. I have nothing but love for Sean Atwood. And for that matter, I have nothing but love for Joel as well. Those are, I've been on shows with people that I would never want to talk to again. Those are 2 shows that I love both of those guys. They're great people. I mean that. By Highlander. That's right. I'm a huge fan of both of them. Our cat Jessie runs this household. She rarely lets us forget. I assume that you will be bringing Jessie with you. It's not that bad, honestly. You go and get the paperwork done. They'll get a little dicey when you're going through the airports. Just make sure you have plenty of the drugs that they give you. Gabapentin. Takes small amounts, but
get at least 4 or 5 more than necessary.
But whatever they tell you need, get 2 extra. Yeah, keeps bladder crystals away. Yeah, I'm all about just taking care of them. They're ladies, man. They deserve better than the Scoville brothers just out of general principle. So we got to step up our game.
Look at the one pot.
I know she's grabbing she's such a strange cat.
She really is.
That's not in a basket, but here you go. That is a cat on a cat toy.
She knows she's being filmed.
She knows she's being filmed. You see how she's got her paw through all of those? She's such a strange kitty. She watches TV, which is odd, right? Squirrel Nut Zipper.
Weird.
Squirrel Nut Zipper has no no interest in the television at all.
Like there's a build up in music. She'll stop and look at it.
Yeah. Katy Perry literally will hang out on the arm of the couch right next to Johnny and watch TV for 45 minutes or an hour. And as you know, if there's a chase scene or whatever, like she starts really getting into it. She's a strange animal. She is beautiful though. She's huge too. Look at that reach on that arm. Oh, you wouldn't believe it. You really wouldn't believe it. She, when she stands up, she can reach the doorknob from the ground. Squirrel doesn't get anywhere near that. Legal Eyes of Freedom says that's 300 pounds of fur. True story. True story. Although, you know something? Like I remember cats that if you shaved him down, how big is she going to get? Well, her dad was 35 pounds. Yeah, her dad's he's a big. He's a hog. Her dad is a 35-pound kitty. She's good. She's eating good. She eats 4 times an hour. I've never seen anything like it.
Every hour.
Yeah. So mom, I think, was 28 or 29 pounds. So she's going to close in on 30 pounds to be sure. We have been adopted by a feral cat. He sleeps on the garage roof. It's flat. We put a little doghouse up there with blankets. I love that.
So do I.
I love that. And I'll tell you something. One of the great cats of my life was a feral cat. And it took probably a year and a half for the cat to start wanting to actually step foot inside the house. And once it did, I'm shocked your brother Johnny hasn't tried to include his cat in his pepper challenges. She just looks at him judgy while he does it.
But judges with a look like Squirrel does.
Yeah, Squirrel is the queen of judge.
Oh my God.
She is the judgiest cat ever.
She'll look at you. You can see the bubble over her head. You can see what she's thinking.
Yeah. And you know what? I call her the furry little Reese because they have an awful lot in common. But what's crazy is she loves Reese, which makes no sense to me. She hates all women.
Would you want Reese? Would you want Squirrel to show up and you start talking to Katie?
If I can't seriously, if I can't find Squirrel, all I got to start doing is saying that the other one, you know, Katie is a good kitty. You're a good girl, and Squirrel will show up in the doorway and look at me like, "Man, I will bitch slap you back to the Stone Age.
I will claw you and then sleep."
Todd, we've been live the whole time. You mean you got off? We've been live since you left. I can't back that up. Dropping in to say hi, dealing with passing of a family member. Oh God, I am so sorry, man.
Rue.
I am so sorry to hear that, Rue. Thoughts and prayers with you. That is, man, I'm sorry. I really am.
I love Rue.
I love Rue too. Johnny Scoville said he loves you, Rue. I'm so sorry to hear that happened. Thank you so much for the support, and you're in our thoughts and prayers. All right, people. I'm sure glad that I came back on here and that I talked with you guys. I really am. I feel a lot better. My opinions are going to be my opinions. I hate it when they step on anybody else's feelings, and I never want that to happen, right? I got to be who I am. I remember when I joined your channel and you got Squirrel and asked all of us, yeah, that's right. That's exactly what happened. I asked everybody to tell us what they thought for a name, and everybody came up with Squirrel for the name. True story. I can back this up.
You can see right now. In the background.
So I went to adopt the cat, and I said, I want the cat in cage 3. And the guy said to me, there are 12 rooms here, right, that have cages in them. What cage 3? And I go, well, it's the room over there. He goes, no, man, just go in there, grab the card off of the top, and then bring it over to us, and that'll have all the information we need. So I went and grabbed the card off of the top, and the cat's name was Squirrel. Swear to God, I could document it. In fact,
it's a normal name for a cat,
right? Exactly. Like, what are the odds of all of the names? Like Mittens. If everyone wanted to name the cat Mittens, that would have made sense. But everybody wanted to name the cat Squirrel. I picked the one cat in the history of that place whose name was Squirrel. So on the little adoption papers, every time I've adopted a kitty, it'll have the cat's name, and then they say change the name to. I didn't change the name. They said, you don't want to change that name? I said, no, I'm going with Squirrel. Thank you, Legal Eyes of Freedom. I admire you for being the individual you are. True story. It's fantastic when people could, when people can disagree with one another and still love each other. That's a beautiful thing, man. What's that? That would be Legal Eyes Freedom. Probably. It was meant to be, right? No question, it was meant to be. And she literally fell into. I put my fingers through like this. Yeah, I have a video of it. You can look at it in the short. Her pupils are this big. She's so small. And she was so scared. And I had just gotten out of a cage fairly recently. And she looked at me like, you got to get me out of this prison. And I thought, that's my cat right there. And we've just been the best of friends.
She had that look on her.
No, she did. You can go look at the short. You'll see her pupils.
You had that for so long before you uploaded it. It's crazy.
It is crazy. You know why though? Because it wasn't in I had sent it to somebody, and I finally realized how I could go and retrieve it.
Right.
I would have loved to have put it up earlier. Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that. Civil discussion is hard to find. We are all more alike than we are different usually. Kung Fu Panda, you nailed that, right? And I'll tell you something. You peel the skin off of us, you can't tell one from the other. I promise you. I was in that line of work for a while.
Look at a skeleton. You can't tell.
Yeah. I don't mean I was peeling people's skin off, but I wrote ambulance. There's no telling the difference between us. When someone's injured, you're not going to say, well, that person is a Mexican guy or that person's a white guy. We're all the same, man. We're all the same. All right, people. I'm going to call this a night, but I wanted to come back on and tell everybody that I loved them. And I really appreciate the support from all of you. And Carlos, if you're still listening, hey, man, there are great relapses. Make this a great relapse.
Rue's in our prayers.
And Rue, we are keeping you in our prayers, as well as the poor loss of a fur baby from Mo.
Oh.
When will you hear Will Smith? Probably tomorrow, if all goes well. All right, people. Between now and the next time I see you, do me a favor. Henry was on the cover of Bo Derek's digital magazine. I'll be damned.
Bo Derek. Well, I'll tell you what. Right there.
Thank you, Alicia. I appreciate you. My kid said Bo Derek who? Oh, no. I know Bo Derek. Maybe it's because I'm old.
Like a 10-year-old boy.
We love Tommy and Johnny. Them crack balls. Yeah, those crack balls are fire. I will tell Reese you said hello. You have my word. All right, Rhonda. Everybody have a great night. Appreciate the support. And I will see all of you tomorrow. I'm putting up a lot of content tomorrow. So make sure you've hit subscribe and hit that bell for notification. And to all who found their tribe tonight, I'm really glad that you did. We'll see you on the next one. I'm Tommy. God bless. Have a good night.